Okay, I'm making a mask in Photoshop to use inside of Illustrator. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to fill it, and you'll see I got a nice circle with the soft edges. Now I know it's white background, so you don't see the transparency, but you could be transparent as well. When you do feather, it's just transparency, right? Soft edges. So I'm going to save this circle and use it inside of Illustrator by using a mask. And you use this mask in Photoshop all the time, don't you? You guys don't use masks in Photoshop? I don't use mask in Photoshop. Right? Here, trash. I'm assuming this is a gene thing, huh? Trash. Here, we can copy this and bring that into, and we can make a mask. And we can paste it. Oh. No. Can I make this a mask? No. How do I make it a mask? Okay, I can't use Photoshop. How do I get this in here? Ah, whatever. Okay, whatever. We can make our mask. So again, well, let me invert that. There we go. So you get the idea here. See, in Photoshop, this is how you would make a mask, right? A mask is a black and white image. You see it right there, or something that has transparency to it. A black and white image that you can get this kind of effect with the soft edge, right? See the soft edge? Well, I can recreate that inside of Illustrator is what I'm trying to say. So if you've got this look inside of Photoshop, you can do that as well as Illustrator. So let's say you drew an illustration, you want to have a nice soft edge like that. This is how you could do it, using a mask. I can make a mask inside of Photoshop. Or you can make a mask in Illustrator, but it's easier to do in Photoshop because you've got all that nice soft edge right away, easily feathered, right? So, if you want this kind of effect, you can see that's a pretty crappy picture, whatever. Save your mask out of Photoshop, or you can make the mask inside Illustrator, doesn't really matter. I'm going to save it as a PNG file, just because I like PNG. Okay, so then I'm going to go to Illustrator. I can make a new illustration. No, that's not what I want. What is this? I don't want custom. Where's my print? There we go. So let me quickly make an illustration. We'll make a circle, or square, rectangle, circle. And you want a triangle? Circle, square, triangle. Okay, there we go. Circle, square, triangle. So how can I make a soft edge to this fabulous drawing here? Again, I'm going to use something called, and I'm going to import that mask by placing it. This was made in Photoshop. Again, a mask made in Photoshop. I'm going to bring it in. Notice how I covered my artwork with the mask. Then I can select it all. Actually, I don't need to select. I'm going to move it over here first. Let me select all these, and let me go under Object. Actually, the way to do it, there's a couple different ways. You can do the clipping mask, which we could do that. Let me see if that works as well. No, that didn't work. If you're going to use a bitmap image like this, you can see it has transparent. No, it's just black and white. You go underneath the transparency, or you go underneath the transparency. This one right here. So in transparency, you'll see it right here. See it right here, transparency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my objects, and I'm going to go mask. Oh no, and that doesn't work. I have to put them all on top of each other. Hold on. I was just doing this. Put them all on top of each other. Select them all. And make. There we go. So I put the mask on top. And so it's underneath transparency. And I put the mask on top. And then I said make under here. There's a release as well. So this again is a bitmap there. And if it's opposite, see where the black is transparent and the white is opaque, right? If that's not working for you, you can switch it right here where it says Invert Mask right there. Watch this. Invert Mask. There we go. So if you're looking, see how you got this nice soft edges now? Right there. See how you got the soft edges there? Again, how that is done, and I'll back up a little bit there. I can select it, and I can say Release. Again, I made a black and white image inside of Photoshop. See it right here? Black and white image in Photoshop. I'm going to use it as a mask. I put it over top of my shapes that I want to mask out. I select all the pieces and then say Make. And it's kind of opposite what I really wanted. I wanted soft edges, so I can hit Inverse. And it will then do that. So you can get soft edge things like that inside of Photoshop using a bitmap image. It's a black and white bitmap image as well. Now you don't have to do it in Photoshop. You don't have to. You don't need to do that. Boom. I can do it a different way. Here's another way. I can use a ellipse tool. I believe you can do this. And then fill that with black. Fill that with black. And then get rid of the stroke. And then again, you do have an option for feather inside of Illustrator under the Effects, Stylize, Feather right here. Just like I did the feather inside of Photoshop to make that soft edge bitmap image. I can do it here under Effects, Stylized Feather, and then we can preview. We can crank this up. You can see the circle getting softer. See the circle getting softer. So again, you do have a feather inside of. Feather is under Stylize again. It's under Stylized Feather. So I made an object, a circle. I made it black. I added some feather. Now I can do kind of the same thing where I select it, and I believe you can say Make Mask. Oh, that didn't work. Yeah, well, it was a try. Worth a try. How about, oh, it did something there, right? How about Inverse? No, that didn't work. Clip? No. No, it didn't work. Oh, it was worth a try, wasn't it? What do you guys think? Worth a try? Let me try again. No. I would use the Photoshop. Another way you can do a mask, of course, is the clipping mask, which is located under Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And that, though, as you can see, is a solid. It uses the solid image. It didn't give you soft edges, did it? No. So that's a different way of making a mask. So that didn't really work with the soft edge. Hey, we tried. So let's try this one. So let's do a mask. Again, it's a solid one, solid image. It's on top, right? It's on top. So then I can use this as a mask. It doesn't have the soft edges like I did with the bitmap image, but if I select all this now, you can go underneath Object, Clipping Mask, Make right here. And what does that do? Well, it goes and cuts out the things outside. So you can do something like that as well with a mask. The problem with using a clipping mask is that you may run into problems translating it in other programs. The reason why is because it sees it as a group, and if you look in the layer window, you'll notice it has this thing called clipping group. This clipping group tends to have problems because it's using one object like this to black out or hide areas in this one. And sometimes that tends to give you problems. So it's not that easy to deal with. You'll notice under clipping mask you can say edit contents, and it'll kind of go back to where you can edit the object, but that didn't really do anything more than allow you to double click on it and change some of the shapes. You can highlight it if you don't want the mask, and it's under clipping mask release. Goes back to normal. Yeah, the only way I found to have that soft edge was to use the Photoshop one. I don't know. So you've seen masks before. I did that with the patch assignment, right? The mission patch. We did a kind of clipping mask. Let's do another sample. Let's say you want to cut an object, a new object. Now, we've already used Pathfinder before, right? We've already used Pathfinder. So let me color these objects. So another way to cut objects is to use the option here is underneath object path, and there's one called divide objects below right here. So let's say you wanted this shape to be its own shape right here. See this shape right here where the two shapes overlap, right? We could use Pathfinder to make this a new shape, right? Or another way to make this a new shape is underneath Object, Path, Divide Objects Below. What that does is it'll then go, no? Oh, you only select one object, I'm sorry. You select the top object and go underneath Object, Path, Divide Objects Below, and what that does is it makes a new object below it, and as you can see, this is now a new object. And it's kind of like using Pathfinder, but it's just a different way of doing it. Okay. Boy, that looks like a block for Minecraft, doesn't it? You guys like Minecraft? Or how about a chair? Does it look like a chair now? Of course. Okay, chair. Okay, let's look at some other ones. Let's say you are working diligently on a nice... And let's say a nice illustration using the pencil tool. There it is, pencil tool. And so I'm going to go very precise, accurate. And let me bring in an image. Oh, that's pretty ugly. Let's not even worry about it. So let's say I'm using the pencil tool and I'm going along, I'm trying to draw rows. Here's my rows. Nice rows. Okay, but you'll notice since I had it on accurate, if I look at the lines, you'll see they're kind of wobbly. If that's a word, wobbly. You see that? So if I select it, you'll see, it's kind of, it's not very smooth here. So if you have drawn, you'll see it has a lot of points and stuff. It's not very smooth. So if you run into an object that's not very smooth and you want to make it smoother, that's why it's called smooth. There's an option called smooth. Smooth is located under Object, Path, Simplify. It's not called smooth, Simplify. If you use that, if you go under Object, Path, Simplify, it'll then, you got a little slider here, and if you preview it, you can see what it does. If you want more precision, you go that way. If you want less, you'll see it does. But you'll see before and after, before, after, before, after, before, after. Kind of gets rid of, you see it says the original one had 71 points. The new one only has 12 points. Do you see that? Okay, that was called, again, that's very useful if you want to simplify a shape. Again, it's under Object, Path, Simplify. Okay, let's talk about the join option, because some of you have always wanted to join something. What I mean by that is if I go and I'm going along, and boom, I'm done. And you'll notice, though, since I did not go all the way back to the beginning, I have a gap here. See my gap? No stroke in there. Gap. So if I want to make this a solid shape so there's no gap in there, I can do that using the option there, the one that's called join. If you use join, it'll combine where the two options were gone. Again, it was under path, and now it's a solid object. Again, here, I'll do it again. I'm going along. Well, let's say you like the pen tool, right? You're going along, I'm drawing a pen, there it is, perfect. And I'm all done. And I'm done. It's like, oh, I got a gap in there. I never went all the way to the final end. You could go and try and put a new one in there, but a faster way might be just to use the join option. Again, the join option is underneath Object, Path, Join, and it should put that line in there and makes a solid whole object. Does that make sense? Okay. So you got join there. Okay, let's look at some other ones in there. Again, most of these are underneath here, and here, and here, and here, and here. Okay, it's under path. So let's keep going with that. Let me see. Let me make another shape. And that one, again, the average. I'm not sure what average was for. I don't know what that is. Average. Outline stroke will put a new stroke on your object, I believe. Whoosh. Wow, what did that do? I don't know. I thought outline stroke would add a new stroke. There it goes. I don't know why. It was still averaging, I think, before. So the option I was using was called outline stroke right here. What it did was it kind of put a new object on the outside of your stroke. And as you can see, if I want, I can actually make that. It's like making another fill. It's basically making another fill. So if I move this one out, you'll see I have a new fill. So it took the stroke and made it into a fill, if that makes any sense. I'll do that again. Oops. Okay, so let's make an object. We're going along. And, oh, we need a stroke. Put a stroke in there. Put a stroke on there. And let's change the size a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we have an object that has a fill and a stroke, but I want to take and make an object out of the stroke. Again, I'm still in the same option. It's under Object, Path, and I say Outline Stroke. And what it does is then it makes an object. Oh, I need to pull the middle one away. It makes an object out of the fill, out of the stroke. See, now that's like a stroke object. That's a fill. No. It's a fill made out of the stroke. Does that make any sense? Again, it was under path, object, path. That was under here. We did simplify, right? There we go. Nice simplify object there. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, that's kind of cool, huh? That's a cool object there. And I showed how to do the warp and the mesh, right? Yes. Perspective. Live paint. Live paint only works with a live paint object. And I can see the only thing I would use a live paint for is I kind of use it if I was going to use a image trace. So let's go and do an image trace, and I'll show you a live paint effect. Let me choose image trace, and I'll show you a live paint. So let me find an image. Let me bring it in. Let me find one. Whoosh. Let me find a person or a landscape. It's not very high quality. Here's my tools. Really? Whoosh. Whatever. So I'm going to convert this this landscape into a, let me change the artboard. So I'm going to convert this landscape into an object and then paint on top of it. So the technique to do something called live paint. Let's look at that. So first I'm going to convert this to an object by using the trace image. I'm going to go under image trace. I'm going to convert it to a color. And we'll use like 24 colors. We can preview it. Whoosh. Okay, so it made a landscape out of objects. And you can see there's a whole bunch of objects in there. You got your nice kind of landscape, and there are a bunch of little objects in there, right? We've done live trace before. Well, what if I wanted to color this, right? I want to color these trees different colors. You can do that by, and it would be difficult because I'd have to grab each one. Remember, if you use live trace, you need to expand it so that you can alter it. So I can go under Object, Expand, and say OK. Woo! Now it makes it into individual objects, and then I want to kind of color it, so I have to grab it and then go and try and change the color. There, like that. Woo! That's a lot of work. So they've included something called Live Paint. What Live Paint allows you to do is use a paint bucket to just go and click on the different objects and just fill them in right away. Okay, so to do that, you need to convert your object or your thing, whatever it is, this landscape, to what's called a Live Paint object, and that is by going under Object, Live Paint, and we're going to say Make. And you say, well, There it goes. It's going to do something. Hold on. It was under Object, Live Trace, Make. Okay. So you're saying, well, I don't see any difference. Well, there is no difference, really. It's just you told the program that you want to make this into a live paint object. So how do I change the colors? Well, in this case, we're going to use the live paint bucket. If I can find it. Where's the live paint bucket? Oh, don't do that. Whoosh. I think it's a pop-up window. Where is it? Live paint. Do you see live paint? No. Live paint. Where is it? No. No. I know it's a tool here somewhere. No. 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 It'll come to me. It's here somewhere. There it is. It's under this one. It's called Live Paint Bucket. Right here. So how the Live Paint Bucket works is it works by using the swatches window. So choose the Live Paint tool. It's right here. It's called Live Paint right there. Live Paint Bucket. So let me zoom in. I don't have to have this stuff selected, so let me deselect it. You don't have to have it selected. So how it works is you put the colors you want to paint with in the swatches window. So I'm going to go under swatches. Swatches. Where are they? Swatches. There they are. So here's the swatches. So you can make yourself a palette. Let me make a palette here. New group. This is going to be by new colors. And let me make a little palette. We're going to do a little red, do a little orange, little green, little blue, little whatever that color is, whatever. So I make myself a little palette like this, and you see it. And so when I click on it, you'll notice my paint bucket is here. Notice there's like 3 colors to my paint bucket. Do you see them? They're there's a blue and a yellow. It's basically pulling the color from the left and the right here. See, the left and the right. And so what I can do is I can click on an object and fill that color in with that object. See that? See that? See that? See that? And then if I want a different one, I can use the arrows on the keyboard, and I go to my red, click on that, click on that, click on that. So you don't have to actually select an object, you can just click on it. And if I want the orange, I can click on that, click on that, click on that. And you can go through and I'm cycling through my colors. Do you see as I'm hitting the arrow key, look at the swatches window. So I made a little color palette and I can cycle through them very quickly using this, and so I can quickly color stuff on my landscape here. Look at that. Look how fast I'm doing that without having to go and select each object and then try and put a color in there. I can go and quickly click on them. Ooh, we can make a lake right there. There's a little lake there. Again, I'm cycling through with the arrow keys on my keyboard. I told the object to be a live paint. So let me review. If you have something that's complex like this and you want to color it, you can convert it into a live paint. To convert it into a live paint is located underneath Object, Live Paint, Make. See right there, it's called Make. What that does is it tells Illustrator you want to be able to use this technique, what I'm using right now, with a live paint bucket. After I did that, I went underneath the live paint bucket right here. This is a live paint bucket. Once I'm done with that, you'll notice I made a swatches here. See them here? I can actually use this one as well. And what it does is, as you're using the bucket, you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard and see how the swatch is changing. So then I can just go and click on objects and change them to whatever color I want by using the arrow keys, and so on and so on and so on. It's a very quick way to color something without having to go and select each one individually. It's called Live Paint. What do you think? Pretty cool? Okay, think we can apply our mask to this then? Let's make it even cooler. Let's try our mask. Let's see if we can do that. Remember our fuzzy mask that we made before? Let's bring that in. Let's see if we can use that with this object. This one, the mask. Okay, the fuzzy mask. Here we go. Fuzzy mask. And how did we do that before? We selected everything, right? And then we went into, what was it? Transparency, right? And then we said make mask. And then we inverted, right? There we go. How about that? You want me to keep going, or you want to take a break? I keep showing stuff if you want. Most of it's under the same spot in the path option. Again, most of these that I was showing you is here under object. There's a bunch of stuff under here you'll notice. See them? These are mostly things that you would do here. I think we went through most of them already. The simplify is pretty good. Clean up. Clean up. I don't know what clean up is. Let's try it on this. What was it? Clean up. Not necessary to clean up. Okay, I guess I don't need to clean up. Oh, rasterize is a good technique. So if you want to convert your vector object to a bitmap, right? We talked about bitmap earlier and stuff. You want to rasterize. It's under object, rasterize. And it's going to ask you, of course, it's going to convert it to a bitmap. So to convert it to a bitmap, it needs a resolution, right? And resolution refers to how many pixels per inch, PPI, pixels per inch. Right now, it's at default to 300 PPI. You know, that's pretty good, probably. And if you want transparent background, you can do that as well. And if you hit OK, it'll rasterize it. And now this is an object like you would have in Photoshop. So now I can copy this, take it into Photoshop, I don't have any good pictures on here, do I? And paste it. Whoosh. Oh, that's because it's black and white. Hold on. I need some color in here. There it is. See, now I have this as a bitmap inside of Photoshop. So I went from Illustrator, I converted to a bitmap, and then I brought it into Photoshop. Isn't that cool? Whoosh! Okay, so that was that. Let's talk about making a graph. They do have a graph option here. So you can make column graph, stack graph, bar graph, and all these. I tend not to use Illustrator to make a graph. It's pretty cheesy. It's not very good. I would use something like Excel, right? You guys all make graphs in Excel, right? Well, you can make a graph, and it kind of gives you like this little Excel thing here, and I don't know. And you can make simple graphs like that. Again, that's right here. There's all kinds of different graphs right there. let's talk about the slice tool. Go away. So there's another tool that you might have tried in Illustrator and it looked like a knife. And you say to yourself, does that look like a knife or not? Doesn't that look like a knife? Does that look like a knife or not? Yes. Okay, good. Making sure you're paying attention here. Okay, it's not used like the knife tool, this one that's over here. It's not this. This is different than this. This is called the slice tool. What is the slice tool used for? It's used to divide a piece of artwork up into pieces. It's used to divide a piece of artwork up into pieces. So let's say that you were using Illustrator to make a web design. Maybe some of you are in web design or something like that. And let's say you have a logo at the top, my great site. So we have a nice logo at the top of my website here. And let's give it a color. So we got some color in there. Ooh, beautiful. Let's give it a little bit of a, there we go. Little drop shadow action there. Whatever. And we are designing some buttons. Let's say we want some navigational bar here. And let's give it some text. Let's give it, ooh, did you ever try these options here, the button options? Where are they at? Here they are, graphic styles. Woo. These things are cool, graphic styles. So let's say this is going to be a web design button, this thing right here. I want it to be a cool button. I want it to be a glass button. It's very popular in the old days. We'll call them old days. So, you know, a lot of things you can do with Illustrator, like web design stuff like that. You can use these things called graphic styles. And so if I go under graphic styles, it's a pop-up window. Underneath window, right here, graphic styles. Where is it? There it is, graphic styles. There's some pre-made ones in here, but these are kind of cheesy. If you go to the pop-up window for the graphic styles, you can go say, Open Graphic Styles Library, and you'll see there's a whole bunch of them in there. You want a neon effect, button and rollover effect, artistic effect, additive with blob brush, textures, type effects, all kinds of things like that. These are all underneath graphic styles. I'm going to use the buttons and rollovers. And this one has some really cool kind of glossy kind of buttons. I'm going to drag that one right on top. There we go. Ooh, look at that. Boy, it's pretty ugly. How about this one? That one's a little better. Ooh, that one, no. How about this one? Ooh. Ooh, look at that ugly one. There you go. Ooh, look at that one. There we go. I don't know. I'm going crazy here. Okay, we'll go with that. Pretty ugly, we'll say. But what you can do with this, okay, is I can then go and let me put some text in there. Products. Let me center align that. And then let me duplicate this. And so we've got products, services. What else would we have? Contact, social media. Okay, whatever. So let's say you made this wonderful graphic like that, and you want to be able to export out each of the pieces as different artwork to program in HTML or whatever type of program you're doing, right? You can use the slice tool to quickly and easily cut pieces out of your design and put them into a new artwork. So this tool right here called the slice tool is used to kind of split your artwork up into individual pieces. So in this case, I'm going to choose the slice tool right there, slice tool. I can draw a box around my top here, release my mouse, you'll notice it makes this thing called a slice. In addition, I can draw a slice around each one of my buttons here. Ooh, that wasn't very good. Let me get a little closer. I can draw a box around each one of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you'll notice I put a box, and it's basically a slice, so it makes these little boxes that you see here. So then what I could do is I can export this out, and I can export each image that's in a box, or I can export all the artwork out as separate art. So again, I can go here, I can select each one of my slices. Here's the slice select tool. I can use it to select all my slices if I want. And when you do that, you can go and save. Each slice, no, not that one. Assets, hold on, they keep changing it on me. Let's see, is there a slice pop-up window? Slice, 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 slice. No. How do I export out now? Slice. Create from selection, duplicate slice, combine slice, divide slice, delete all, clip to art, create from selection, release. I don't know. It depends on the version you have. If you go underneath save as, maybe. No. Let's see. Export selections. No. How about we go under... it depends on the version. I'm going to use the save for web legacy. Oh, there's a save slice there. I saw that. Oh, really? Really? So, do I really need that? There was underneath there was what? Save selected slices? There you go. And so then I can give them a name. This is going to be my web sample. And let's go to desktop and let's hit save. And so what it does automatically for you is it will go and make a folder called images, and you'll notice it took each one of these and made them into a GIF. I think you could also make them into JPEGs as well, and as well as PNGs. But you'll see you have each one of these as separate objects. See? Separate objects. Separate objects. And then I could go into my code and program that up. So, you know, the slice comes from a very old way of doing things in that, you know, we used to design kind of sites in Illustrator or Photoshop, and then we would slice them up like that and then recreate them in HTML. But most of the stuff I would do today is I would probably do through coding and wouldn't do too much in graphics. I mean, graphics are nice, but they take up too much space. A lot of the things that you see here you can do in coding now, right? Who's in the HTML class? You can do most of this stuff, right, with gradients and things like that, with CSS and stuff. You don't need to, you know, in the old days we had to do stuff like this because you couldn't make a button look like that unless you made it into a graphic. But today, with gradients, CSS gradients and things like that, a lot of special effects like that you want to have on something you can do right in the code. So again, let's review what we talked about. We talked about masks. Where was mask? It's under transparency, right? Where I used the bitmap mask, right? In addition, I talked about all the things under here. We simplified an object using what? Simplify, right? Got rid of some points. We made a new object by using divide objects below. Did you see that? Do you remember that? And then what else did we do? We talked about clipping mask as well. And a compound path is just a way of combining multiple objects together. We didn't really do that. Artboard, we know how to do that already. And we did look at a graph, and I don't really use that. I'd rather use Excel. In addition, what else did we do? I can't remember now. We do something else. We should go through some of this stuff as well. In addition, we'll go over how to make a template. See how it says new from template here inside of Illustrator? I'm going to make a new template and save a file as a template. You can save a file as a template right here. See how it says Illustrator template right there? So you can make a layout, and let's wait till next class to do that so we can do it from the beginning of class. But next class we'll go over how to make a template. So tell me how your portrait's coming. Kind of slow, huh? What's on your chip? How's your portrait coming? Okay. Beautiful. You need to print it out, but turn it in as a PDF would be good. Don't use SVG. Don't use SVG. Evil. How about I will come and help you. Let me turn off my recording here. Turn off my recording. And you guys are all going to bring some snacks for the final class, right? Next Wednesday, bring some food. We'll have a party. You guys want to have a party? Christmas party? Bring something.